Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times to discuss books and horror. And today I thought, you know what? New year, new blood. I am here to recommend you some vampire books.
It's coffee time!
I think I've already recommended vampire books before, so I have tried my best not to repeat any recommendation. And I have here a mix between middle grade, YA and adult, so that hopefully there's something here for everybody. Vampires have had an enormous legacy in literature, all the way from Camilla to Dracula, and those are two of my favorite classics if you have not read them, by the way. I've always been really in love with vampires. My love for vampires comes actually from watching an adaptation of the book Dracula, and that is the adaptation from Francis Ford Coppola. I watched that movie when I was way too young to watch it, to be fair, and I developed my love for blood thanks to that movie. So I have a lot to thank to that film, and I still rewatch it here and there when I feel like watching a comfort movie. I know the special effects have not aged all of them really well, but it still holds a special place in my heart. The popularity of vampires keeps coming back, and vampires have been reimagined in so many ways. And I'm always excited to see, you know, new books about vampires. Now, in this list, you have a mix of older and newer books about vampires, so let's take a look. We have, first of all, The Vanquishers by Kailyn Barron, and this is a middle grade horror. You might know her because she got a book published last year that was really popular, which was You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight, but she also has some middle grade books, and one of them is this one, and this one is about vampires. We follow Malika Wilson, and she and one of her best friends have been obsessed with this group called the Vanquishers, who are basically vampire hunters that supposedly wiped out the last of the vampires. And because they got rid of the last of the vampires, people in town are no longer taking precautions. So they are no longer, you know, establishing a curfew, they are no longer protecting themselves with garlic and things like that. They're starting to relax the rules a little bit because they firmly believe that the Vanquishers got rid of all of them. When a friend goes missing, our main character isn't sure what's happening here. Could it be just, you know, a coincidence? Could it be somebody just that kidnaps kids? What could it be? Or could it possibly be that vampires are still around? The town needs protection again, so the Vanquishers will come back to finish the job. The book is said to be inspired by Buffy the Vampire Slayer and The Watchers, and it is the first book in a series. So if you're looking for something cozy to read that involves vampires, or if you have kids at home and you want them to read a little bit more about vampires, this might be a middle grade series that you want to check out. Look for Me by Moonlight by Mary Donning Hall, and this is a YA horror. We follow 16-year-old Cinda that is moving with her dad and his second wife in this small bed and breakfast that they own in Maine, and all seems to go well. And then there are some tales about ghosts and murders and things that happen in this place. An intense and handsome stranger comes to town. He's called Vincent, and obviously our main character kind of feels for him. She feels attracted to him, and he seems to also like her back, but there seems to be something kind of wrong with him, something really mysterious. Obviously, we already assume by this that Vincent is going to be the vampire here, and he is portrayed so much so as a beast in this book, someone that comes back to this town every X years and always takes a victim, normally a young girl, 16-year-old, because those seem to be easy prey for him. Honestly, when you're 16, your hormones are running wild, and if a handsome young man comes to town, chances are you're gonna get attracted to him. Blood Countess by Lana Popovic, and this is a historical fiction horror. This is a YA book inspired by, you know, Countess Dracula. So we have here almost like another classic story, but brought up for the YA audiences. We are in the 16th century in Hungary, and our main character, Anna, has started working for the Countess, and the Countess is none other than Elizabeth Bathory. I love all the books that deal with Elizabeth Bathory. I find her a really intriguing character. So Anna works as a chambermaid, and sometimes she hears people screaming. She doesn't know what's happening in this place. She doesn't know what's going on with all the girls. We all know, if you know the story of Elizabeth Bathory, you know what she did. So I like that the story now is brought also for YA readers, because all the books that I have read that portray Elizabeth Bathory or interpret her story are always adult books. The Countess takes full advantage of Anna because she's a really good girl and she falls under the spell, and she is basically ready to do anything for Elizabeth. So basically Elizabeth grooms Anna. So this is one that is going to be perfect if you guys want to read a little bit, you know, kind of like a fictionalized version of Elizabeth Bathory, but for younger readers. The Immortal Rules by Julie Kagawa, and this is a vampire horror series that came out also some years ago. This is also a YA book series, and we follow our main character Allison, and she lives in a city that is basically walled in. They're trying to protect themselves. So during the day they go out and they try to get things, you know, for food, and try to get everything done, because at night you're not supposed to go out or you might be end up getting eaten. So Allison, Allie, she hates vampires, and she hates them because they keep humans as cattle so that they can keep feeding on their blood. That is until one fateful day Allie becomes one of them, one of the monsters. So she's forced to leave the city, and she is really struggling with this kind of like new reality that she's in, and she is desperate to seek a cure because she just doesn't want to be this monster anymore. Night's Edge by Liz Carrin, and this is adult horror. We're moving to the adult section, and this is one that has been recommended to me, and this is one that has me intrigued because it looks like a little bit of a different take on vampires, and it's also from last year. Our main character Mia has had to grow up really fast because her mother Izzy has a lust for blood. So her life has not been easy. She has not been able to grow up, you know, inviting friends over, going out with her friends. She hasn't had a regular childhood, so her growing up has been very, very different. She has been taking care of her mother and kind of also trying to protect her mother's secret. So Mia is now in her 20s, and all she wants, honestly, is just to live this life because she just cannot take it anymore. I mean, poor girl. And so she meets this musician called Jared, and I believe she tries to find an escape with him and finally leave her mom behind. I'm really intrigued about this one. I really want to read it because it sounds like it might be a different take on vampires, and the cover looks fantastic. There is a sequel coming, I believe, so maybe it's one that I need to add to my TBR pile for 2024. Let me know down below if you read the book and if you would recommend it to me. Next we have The Delicate Dependency, a novel of the vampire life by Michael Talbot, and this is a gothic horror. Now I love the premise of this one because this is a book that was published in the 80s, and it kind of depicts the vampires are as the Illuminati and in Notre Dame. So there is a lot of, I would say, Anne Rice vibes when it comes to that. You know, Anne Rice vampires always had a certain level of sophistication to them that always fascinated me and made me really attracted to the vampires, which I guess it's the point, is what she wanted to achieve, even though we know they are dangerous creatures. I believe this book is going to be for people that are really into the classic portrayal of vampires, where vampires are very intelligent and very smart because they have had years of consuming art and years of learning a lot of things, and this is one that I would recommend also if you like Anne Rice. Then we have Lost Souls by Poppy Z. Bright, and this is another adult horror. This is one that puts a certain group of vampires that are more like a contemporary modern take of vampires. Well, this was published in the 90s, but like 90s modern vampires that all meet at a club, and they are all have, you know, like their own different backgrounds, but they're all friends with each other, and they decide to embark kind of in a road trip to look for fresh blood, and of course they will encounter some problems on the way. This is more of a modern take in the sense that the vampires meet at a club and they all know what each other are, We might see in the club humans that go there because they want to be the ones that feed the vampires in hopes to become one day. We all know this trope of the humans going to vampire clubs, you know, offering their blood because they think eventually they will be turned, which we know it's probably not true because vampires lie. So this is one also for people that want to see vampires on a road trip, because why not? The Lesser Dead by Christopher Buehlman, and this is an adult horror book that is kind of also a little bit of an urban fantasy. We are in New York City in 1978, and our main character is a vampire called Joe that has been living as a teenager in New York for the past 40 years, and he has had 40 years of being a teenager, so he's been out a lot at night and he knows this city like the back of his hand, and he knows where to go to feed and to survive. He mostly uses the subway in order to, you know, feed, and one day he realizes that there's another group of what appears to be vampires that are using his subways to feed. Unacceptable. And so he tries to hunt them down and realizes that they might be vampires, but is it another type of breed of vampires, or what kind of creatures are they? As a bonus, I wanted to mention My Roommate is a Vampire by Jenna Levine. This is a romance about vampires. I think it's a rom-com, so I just wanted to mention it in case you were looking for a complete different take on vampires. Honestly, I've been intrigued about this one because I don't know if it's gonna be something for me or not, but it might be one of those like fast, comfy reads. I don't know. Let me know down below if you read this one, if it's worth it. So Cassie is currently struggling with making some money. She wants to become an artist and she doesn't have much money, and so she's very surprised when she comes across these kind of like apartment that is too perfect to be true for very little money, and we all know if things are too good to be true, it always comes with a catch. And her roommate is a guy called Frederick, and he is far from normal. And as we are already spoiled by the title of the book, we know already that Frederick is a vampire. So I don't know how to feel about this. Like, I don't know if it's gonna be like cute and cozy, or if it's gonna be a little bit boring to me. I don't know, because I do like rom-coms. I don't think I've ever read a rom-com where there's a vampire involved. This is also adult, so I don't know, but if you read it, let me know down below. I also wanted to mention it because it might be fun, so I don't know, let's try it together maybe. So these were my new vampire book recommendations. I tried to look for things that I haven't mentioned before in any of my recommendation videos, and also give you some middle grade YA and adult options. I personally love vampires, and I don't think I will ever get tired of reading vampire books, even though some do always recycle the same plot, but there are also many new vampire books that are very interesting and they put a twist on the vampire tales. So let me know down below which is your favorite vampire book, so that way we give each other even more book recommendations. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that maybe there was a book here that you now are interested in reading, and thank you guys as always so much for watching. I hope to see you all as always in our next coffee time. Bye!